My role as a volunteer with the Women's Network was mainly to build their capacities, kind of work with strengthening their internal capacities. So I worked in different sectors. I had the chance to work in Lima and in Tarapoto, so providing support to two different groups. Working on communication tools to improve the communication between the head office and the different groups within the country, for example, or working on funding opportunities, trying to look for new funding possibilities for the network. In Tarapoto, I worked a lot more on kind of building their capacities in project formulation, so it was really important for them to have their own project that they can manage. And also working in trying to mainstream gender in the other partner organizations within Peru. I was working as a gender advisor, so it was a lot of activities related to mainstreaming gender, promoting gender equality. So that's actually, it's because they're long-term processes, it's actually very hard to see visible results in a short time. For example, one activities that Uniterra did support while I was there was organizing a consultation forum in the San Martin region, and then that was to promote kind of the participation and the debate of civil society representative and other women leaders on a national plan on gender equality that they were that was beginning in 2012. That was like a concrete event of like mobilizing women leaders in the region so that they could participate, know about this this national plan, and actually like make proposals, recommendations to make it better. I think one of the major challenges when you're working on gender equality issues is measuring results, because it's a long-term process. We're talking about changing attitudes, changing ways of thinking that are very deeply rooted since childhood, since you were born. So it's very difficult to change those mentalities in a short-term process. In a one-year mandate, for example, there's lots of challenges working with gender, involving men, for example, in gender-related activities, because when we think of gender, we automatically think of women. Gender-related activities can be a win-win situation for both men and women, not just women. One of the lessons I definitely learned working on gender equality is that good intentions are not enough. That you have to have kind of the skills, or you have to take concrete steps to incorporate gender in your activity or your project, or you actually have to just think about it, take it into account, because if you don't, you can end up reinforcing gender equalities. And one example that always comes to my mind is when I was doing a gender equality workshop with farmers in a small community. The team that I was with, the team in charge of the project, had brought like potatoes and a chicken for the meal that we were supposed to share with the participants at the end of the workshop, and they just kind of handed it over to the community at the beginning, expecting somebody to prepare the meal during the workshop. And who ended up preparing the meal? Well, it was like the women participant in the workshop. So we only had 5 participants out of 25, and out of those 5, 3 were at the back preparing the food for the end of the workshop. So they actually ended up missing like 3/4 of the activities that we had done on gender equality. So I think it's really important to, if we don't take that into account from the beginning, we can actually reinforce the gender equalities that are existent. I think the capacity building approach is a good way, because you're kind of just providing support to what already exists. Do your work plan with the partner organization, and together you kind of try to match your skills with the needs of the organization. So I think that's definitely a good way to do development. The interpersonal relations that you have with your partner organization, I think that's very precious. I think that's very important, because for some partner organizations it's the first time maybe that they have an international volunteer. So even just the cultural, personal exchanges around that, they'll ask questions about Canada, you'll learn about their own cultures. That is also important in development. Working with the women group in San Martin, Tarapoto, I think I was just impressed by, there was maybe a core of like 10 very active, involved women in the group, and I was just kind of very impressed by some were working in NGOs or public institutions, some were stay-at-home moms, but they were so very active in the community that they they were just part of like all these different networks, groups, activities. Like every day they were doing something something else, and like being involved in the community, being involved at home, doing their own cooking or taking care of the kids, but also taking time, even though they were already very busy, even though a lot of them don't have that many resources or aren't working, but they just dedicate so much time to other types of activities within the community. I think that's very, to me, that was very impressive.